It looks better.
Test.
Is that helpful? Yeah. So my name is Medea Benjamin with Code Pink, and we are getting ready to leave on a peace trip to Pakistan to protest the Obama administration's policy of killer drones. We have a delegation of 35 people. Some of them have been leaving already and are just arriving in Pakistan, but the official delegation starts on October 3rd. We are going to express our opposition to the drone policy that unfortunately many Americans think is making us safer and has been described by the administration as something that is extremely precise and not hurting innocent civilians. But as I talk about in the book that I wrote called Drone Warfare, Killing by Remote Control, and we have seen corroborated by a study that just came out this week called Living Under Drones, put out by Stanford and NYU law schools, the narrative of the Obama administration is false. These drone attacks are not making us more secure. These drone attacks are killing a lot of innocent people. The drone attacks are counterproductive, and they're turning the Pakistani people against us. In fact, we have seen very disturbing things in the polls that show that while 80% of Americans think the drone strikes are fine, the exact opposite is true in Pakistan, where the overwhelming majority of people are against the drone strikes. And in fact, we can say that one of the reasons for the protests that was sparked by the film Innocence of Muslims was a deep-seated resentment towards the Americans because of this drone policy. And unfortunately, 3 out of 4 Pakistanis now consider the United States their enemy. Well, we want to change that. We want to go to Pakistan to let Pakistanis know that there are many Americans who are against the drone policy, many Americans who want to live in peace and harmony with the people in Pakistan, many Americans who mourn the death of innocent lives by our drone strikes in Pakistan. And so I'm going to introduce some of the other members of the delegation, starting with Robert Naiman from Just Foreign Policy, to explain why he is taking part in this delegation.
Hi, my name is Robert Naiman. I'm the Policy Director at Just Foreign Policy. Medea mentioned that we have this poll data, which is well known, suggesting that the majority of Americans support the drone strike policy. But I argue that this is, in a sense, a meaningless data point because the overwhelming majority of Americans have no idea what the actual drone strike policy is or what its consequences have been. And the reason for this is, first of all, because the Obama administration has kept its policy, quote unquote, secret, refuses to give information about it, which obstructs media reporting, even though at the same time they boast about the alleged successes. And of course, everybody in Pakistan and around the world knows what's happening. And secondly, the Obama administration hasn't been completely quiet. They have said a few things which are untrue or deeply misleading. There's 2 central claims that the Obama administration has put out. The first is that civilian casualties in the drone strike are, quote unquote, exceedingly rare. This is what John Brennan, the White House counterterrorism advisor, said, exceedingly rare. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, first of all, because something's exceedingly rare, even if that were true, it's not necessarily a defense. You know, if you went to the hospital to get your leg amputated and they cut off the wrong leg, and people said, well, don't worry, that's exceedingly rare, you might not accept that as an explanation if that happened to you or your family member. But put that to the side. What does exceedingly rare mean? You know, it's obviously it's not a technical term, but we know that the Bureau of Investigative Journalism in the UK has attempted to track civilian casualties in drone strike. It's very difficult because of the lack of government information and the fact that it's very hard for journalists and others to go to Waziristan. But they have tallied, based on reports from Pakistan that somewhere between 400 and 800 or so civilians have been killed in Pakistan since the middle of 2004 in drone strikes, out of something like between 2,500 and 3,500 people killed overall. So that means that somewhere between 15% and 35% of the deaths in drone strikes, in U.S. drone strikes, since the middle of 2004 have been civilians. Well, is that exceedingly rare? It could be a third. It could be a third of the deaths in U.S. drone strikes since 2004 have been civilians. Is that exceedingly rare? Would we accept that in other arenas? Is exceedingly rare? The top baseball players get hits a third of the times that they bat. Is that exceedingly rare? If you were going to take a drug that killed a third of the people that took the drug, would you say, well, that's okay, that's exceedingly rare? So it's at least deeply misleading and arguably a lie for John Brennan to say that civilian deaths are exceedingly rare. No, U.S. officials can say, whoa, we don't believe those numbers. Okay, show us your numbers. Show us your tally of civilian deaths in Pakistan. They refuse to do that. So all we have are the Bureau of Investigative Journalism numbers, because the Obama administration won't talk to the American people, Congress, and the press about death. The other thing that they claim is that, and President Obama himself has said this, these are narrowly focused, narrowly targeted. We're just going after people on a list. Well, the study that Medea mentioned, Living Under Drones, estimated that just 2% of the deaths in these drone strikes are top militant or terrorist leaders. Just 2%. So what does it mean to say that these are narrowly focused, narrowly targeted? That is the official administration defense. But if the American people knew that only 2% of the deaths are top militant leaders, then they would not believe that this claim was true. So we're going on this delegation because we want to lift up the stories of what is actually happening to civilians in Pakistan as a result of this drone strike policy since 2004. There's a story there that is just starting to get out. It was emphasized by this report how the cost to civilians in these drone strikes is not just the deaths, it's not just the injury, it's hundreds of thousands of people living in a state of constant terror because they constantly have drones flying overhead which could strike at any time, which strike funerals, which strike weddings, which could strike any gathering, and any time your house could be blown up. So every civilian in these areas is suffering from the drone strikes, even if they're not hit. That's why we're going to lift up those stories, and those are the stories that we're going to be bringing back to the United States, and we're going to turn this around. This support is shallow. People don't know what's going on. When we show people what's actually happening, that support will fall away.
Thank you. That's Robert Naiman with Just Foreign Policy. I mentioned that, unfortunately, in a poll that Pakistanis were asked how they looked at the United States, they said they looked at the United States as an enemy. Well, we believe that as people-to-people ties, we have to turn that around. And when we put out in the social media through Facebook and Twitter that we were going to Pakistan, we've had thousands of responses from people in Pakistan saying, "You are most welcome here, thank you for coming." And we have some representatives here from the Pakistani-American community who I wanted to introduce. And the first one is Iftikhar Khan.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Iftikhar Khan. I was born in Pakistan, but I'm a proud U.S. citizen. As a lot of U.S. citizens, I'm also against this war. It's a long war which has not given us as much benefit as much damage I think it has caused. First of all, I really appreciate the courage, the effort, all the efforts by this group by leaving their homes, their families and going to Pakistan to find out exact situation, what is going on, and how effective or unproductive these drone strikes are. So I really appreciate and thank them for doing that, because over here American citizens are very concerned that we should, in order to win this war, we have to win over the hearts and minds of people over there in Pakistan and Afghanistan. So that would be pretty much it. Once again, I thank you all for coming here, and we hope that things get resolved soon, and we end killing so many innocent people over there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I next want to introduce another Pakistani-American who has been very supportive of this trip, and that is Mr. Akbar Chowdhury.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Akbar Chowdhury. I am part of Imran-Khan PTI in Washington area. We appreciate the effort of this group. They are doing for a great cause and solidarity with Pakistani people. We really appreciate that they're going all the way to Pakistan, and it will be great help for PTI to raise the issue, and the Pakistani people will see the face of American people, humanitarian face that they very seldom see. We thank you again.
Next, I want to introduce Ray McGovern, who is somebody who knows the CIA from the inside, having worked there for many years. And it's important to bring in this perspective because it is the CIA that is running the drone program in Pakistan. And as Ray knows well, the CIA is not a military organization, and I don't think the role of the CIA is to go around assassinating lots and lots of people as they are doing in Pakistan. So please welcome Ray McGovern.
Thanks, Medea. This is the report here, Living Under Drones. It's put out by NYU Law School and Stanford University, so this is not podunk A&M that's putting this thing out. These are very, very well-considered, detailed, researched pieces of paper. They are exceedingly rare, as are these colleagues here, Bob Naiman, Medea, and some people that are already in Pakistan. I know that they're exceedingly rare because they have the kind of courage that I aspire to. They were on the U.S. boat to Gaza, which I was privileged to be a partner, a passenger. Now, the important thing about all this is that what's going on here, often people don't recognize it. It's illegal. It's unconstitutional. Now, I had a big dispute with somebody who says, well, how's it unconstitutional? Well, look at the Fifth Amendment. What does the Fifth Amendment say? Not to deprive people of life without due process. He said, oh, that just means Americans. Well, we know that some Americans have already been killed, but it means everybody. You look at it, the Fifth Amendment, no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process. Now, what happens here? Well, we have a bunch of folks here who are advising Obama. You've probably read the novel, or you know of it, Thursdays with Maury. Well, here we have Tuesdays with Obama. What happens on Tuesdays? Well, John Brennan, a thug from northern New Jersey, gives him a little list. And he said, now, Mr. President, we got 10 people on the list here for this week's killing. Have you had a chance to look at it? He said, well, I looked at it quickly. Number three has three kids. Yeah, that's right. Well, sometimes some people have to die, says Brennan. He actually said that. Well, Obama, let's put number 3 down. Let's defer number 3 with the 3 kids to next week. Let's do 1, 2, 4, and then down to 11 this week. Hello? You know, my Irish grandmother used to say, show me your company and I'll tell you who you are. Well, Obama's fallen in with a bunch of thugs. Brennan's one. Another one is sort of a punk, not quite a thug. His name is Eric Holder. He comes from the Bronx, where I come from, but he's got a fancy shirt and a silk tie, okay? And so he says, oh, we do due process right here in the administration. We do due process in the executive, okay? He doesn't fall back into his Bronx lingo, but that's what he's saying. Hey, knock it off. We do due process right here, okay? That's Holder. Now, who else is sort of swept into this? The functionaries that you'll see going right back and forth with the ties and the shirts. I'm thinking of the ambassador to Pakistan, the one who just left, who I heard on the radio yesterday speaking at Carnegie. Now, he was bemoaning the fact that, pretty much the CIA is running our policy here. It was real hard to be ambassador without any authority. I spent most of my time trying to get a CIA functionary named Raymond Davis out of jail. I mean, that was really a bummer. And they don't like us because of Raymond Davis, and he had explosives and weapons in his car that he shouldn't have had. It took me 3 months to get him out. Hello? During all this thing about why the Pakistanis don't like us, Munter never, our ambassador there never mentioned drones. Now, what about drones? See these things here? Those are Hellfire missiles. And people ask me, well, are they accurate? I said, man, there's never been a more accurate weapon. The problem is that the target information is notoriously inaccurate. You know how they get that information? A neighbor doesn't like another neighbor in northern Pakistan. He puts a little device on the neighbor's house, and what do you know? The family is incinerated the next day. The source material is terribly unreliable, and so all these suspect militants are known to be suspect militants because they went to lunch with another suspect militant. And you know what that reminds me of? It's a long time since the Dominican Republic in 1965, but I remember when we were looking for suspect communists, okay? And we came up with 53 of them. And what was the criteria? The criteria was, well, did he have lunch with a suspect communist? Did he have, this guy, is his brother-in-law a suspect communist? 53 of them. So the information is notoriously unreliable. So I applaud these folks for coming. And I really want to say that I can envisage myself in Code Pink and the rest of the delegation's shoes. They're in Pakistan, right? 2 weeks from now. And they hear that there's been a Hellfire missile that destroyed 5 families over here just 5 miles away. Now, can they go? No, they can't go. This report shows that no medical or other personnel will go within 6 hours. Why? Because the drones zap whoever comes to rescue them. Same with funerals. So I applaud your courage. I wish you Godspeed. And please tell the Pakistani people that some people care about them.
Thank you. So we're going to hear from 2 more of the delegates, and the next one is Tyke Barry.
Thank you very much for having me. I've been in the back holding up a sign that said, when drones fly, children die. I have 2 children. They are ages 20 and 18. Now, under the Obama administration's, how they decide to kill people, my children would be fair game. Because they happen to be of military age, they would be considered militants, whether they do anything or not. And I'm going to Waziristan, I'm going to Pakistan to register my displeasure with our administration in the murder of children, innocent people in Pakistan. I'm also going for another reason. Last night I met with an amazing group of Pakistani-Americans that are here, that were totally amazed that there would be somebody, an American, who would stand up to the administration and say that we understand that the murder of innocents is wrong, and it destroys our credibility worldwide, and it puts us deeper and deeper in debt to the people of Pakistan. And whether or not we're ever going to clean up the mess we've created in Iraq, Afghanistan, or Pakistan is yet to be seen. I don't believe that they will use their billions for building houses or schools or things that people need. They will continue with the war, and then they'll leave when it suits them. And I'm appalled at that. Thank you very much. I will be in Waziristan, and I hope that we can get the message out.
Thank you. And our last speaker is Pam Bailey, also one of the delegates.
Thank you. You know, I've encountered so many people here who do not understand why we're going. I mean, I get sort of two reactions. There's one group of people who just don't think politics is important, period. And there's another group of people who are activists but don't really understand, you know, of all the issues here at home that I should be an activist for, why am I choosing this issue? But, you know, to the people who think politics is not important, many of whom are losing their jobs, for instance, and can't get another job, billions of our taxpayer money is going to finance this drone warfare, etc. So that should be a very personal issue to them, and I hope this trip maybe dramatizes that fact. That this is something that is taking money that we could be spending at home to give people jobs. And then I guess for the people who just don't get why this is important, I hope to show there's a human face at the other end. I do that in Gaza, and it's one reason why I'm doing on this trip too, is that we tend to think of our foreign policy as something that's just sort of esoteric, and we can't influence anyway. Well, there's a human face at the other end. They're ordinary people who are just like you and me, who are not in the news. All we hear about is the terrorists and the militant groups and the corrupt politicians. But there's ordinary people who are being harmed, who we have more in common with. And that's what I hope to dramatize by going, and to make people realize that if we all think that we can't make a difference, then we won't make a difference. But if you look at all the social change in the past, it's calm when people realize the power that we have and use it.
So there is actually one other person who is here who is a delegate, and as Pam said, we want to humanize the people in Pakistan. We also want to humanize the people on the delegation. That's 35 people who have fundraised for themselves to go. This is not organized by George Soros or any other big sugar daddy. This is people scraping together the funds on their own to go. And most of the people on the delegation are older people, retired people, but we do have a couple of young people, which I think is so important. So I wanted to introduce one of those young people, and that's Allison McCracken.
My name's Allie McCracken. I'm 23 years old, and tomorrow night I'll be flying to Pakistan to participate in Code Pink's delegation, which will be marching to Waziristan to protest the use of killer drones, American killer drones in Pakistan and other countries in the world. I don't have a lot of money, but I feel like this is worth spending what I do have. It's worth spending my money on this because as a young person, I'm really concerned about the new definition of warfare, the new definition that the Obama administration, which I had so much hope for, but now I'm so dismayed by, this new definition of warfare, and not only warfare, but military combatants that Obama has put forward, that has changed the face of war all across the world and changed the face of the anti-war movement. We're supposed to be sharing American values all over the world, supposedly. But how is a bomb dropped from a killer robot reflecting American values? By using drones, which are, under the context of CIA secrecy, the idea of war has been totally turned upside down. And for my generation of young people who have grown up with television and cable and video games, war has become sort of a video game because now with the drones, you just have a pilot who sits in a cockpit behind a TV screen and uses a joystick, kind of like a Nintendo joystick, to target suspected militants and then fire and kill them with supposedly minimal collateral damage. But as we've seen lately in studies that have come out, this is a false narrative. So this idea of sanitized war is really unsettling for me and extremely disturbing. My generation is, in danger of this idea that war, the secret war. We don't say we're at war with Pakistan, but we're blowing up families there every few days. This is dangerous. And not only Pakistan, there's other countries too. And also Obama's idea of a military combatant. Obama has said that any male in between the ages of 18 and XYZ, an elderly person, could possibly be a military combatant. And that, to me, is just disgusting. between sanitizing war by putting it behind a computer screen or a TV screen, and then saying that pretty much anyone could be considered a military combatant, it's making us less safe. It's hurting our national security by proliferating war in a way that's never been done, and also by making it more secretive so that the American public doesn't actually know what's going on. And I'm going to Pakistan to blow the lid on Obama and the CIA secret drone wars. Thank you.
So thank you for coming today. We hope you'll follow the delegation by going to droneswatch.org, where we'll be posting daily blogs about our meetings with drone victims and their families, our meetings with officials, Pakistani government officials, as well as U.S. officials, and hopefully the march on October 7th in Waziristan. Thank you so much for coming.